We're live.
We're live.
Hey. All right. So now that I got this figured out, which is awesome, welcome everyone to the first installment of Quick Chat with Dr. Nicole. I might change the name of that, so let me know if you have any ideas. This is intended to be a place for casual conversations on improving physical, mental, and spiritual health. Today we have with us an amazing holistic wellness coach, Dayna Zaks. Hi, Dayna.
Hi.
She is the owner of Origin Holistic Coaching, where she coaches overwhelmed mothers and helps them to release guilt and judgment so they can find their calm, confidence, and joy. Amazing. So today, let me just get this started here. Today we're talking about guilt, and specifically, oops, there we go. And today we're specifically talking about mom guilt and learning to find the balance between yourself and your kids and everything going on. I guess I wanted to start out by defining guilt. So I did a little looking in the dictionary, and I found out that guilt is an emotion that is felt when one believes that the act they committed or think they committed is wrong, or a failure to do something that they should have done that would have been right, which I thought was fascinating. It's always fascinating to look up these definitions and really see what the dictionary defines it as, because we kind of just feel it and we don't always talk about that. So yeah, guilt.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, because guilt really is, it is judgment of ourselves.
It is.
And it is that perception of what is that other person thinking? What is everyone else perceiving that I'm doing here? And we have a tendency to hold on to that and hold on to this judgment of or what we think is going to be something that's going to be judged, so that we feel guilty about it. Yep. And we need to release that, because all that does, that guilt, that just builds up in your system, in your body, and it just turns into illness.
It does.
So emotional illness can turn into physical illness.
Absolutely.
So, which is a connection that I don't think a lot of people really see sometimes.
Right. So. Yeah, and on guilt itself, there's both guilt. Before we dive into the mom guilt specifically, there's guilt in not having kids, and there's guilt in having kids. Because I'm on the other side of the spectrum. I don't have kids, and I haven't had so much like pressure from family and friends, but like the pharmacist in the pharmacy, I had patients that I developed relationships with, and they were the ones nudging me like, oh, when are you going to have kids? When are you going to have kids? Like, oh,
I'm just not there yet. I'm not there yet.
Right.
Oh, I had an aunt that was like that every time. Every time my cousins would have a kid, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? I'm like, maybe never. Maybe it won't happen.
Right.
And then one day I decided I wanted a kid. And then, well, that's where he came in. And wow, was that life-changing. So yeah, it's absolutely true, because there's a guilt, and there's even, it sounds crazy, but there's even a whole guilt about only having one child rather than having multiple children.
Yep. So not only is it, when are you going to have one, and then the second it comes out, when's the next one coming?
Yes.
But then if you have more than that, then it's like, ooh, how many are you going to have? Like, ooh.
Yeah. So it's like, and that is where all of that external judgment comes in, where you're just like, enough.
Yep.
And all that chatter in your brain that sets you off. And then the next thing you know, you're screaming at your kid because they spilled the milk.
Right.
So, as an example, I totally did that this morning. He dropped the turtle food, and I'm like, it is everywhere. And I'm like, and I looked at him and I'm like, okay, so sweetie, I totally overreacted to that. That was completely not necessary. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
But it takes, I think part of releasing the guilt is taking the responsibility, even when your kids are young, and taking the responsibility and like letting it go, because then they can laugh at you just like you laugh at yourself sometimes. And sometimes you just need to.
Absolutely. So I guess my notes that I had prepared, I wanted to start sort of with guilt and prioritizing yourself, because once you have kids, there's this stigma of you have to give your whole self to them. What's your take on that?
My take on that is that if you give your whole self to just your kids and there's nothing left for you, then there really isn't anything left for your kids either. So you need to take that time for you. If you don't take that time for you, that's another thing that just adds up to illness, because your brain is only focusing on the children or even your partner, but it's only focusing on others instead of with yourself. And if you can't find the joy and calm within yourself, you can't give that out and spread that same energy to your family.
You have to fill your cup first.
You do. You have to fill that up, because if you don't fill it up and have it overflowing, there is no overflow for anybody else.
Yeah.
There's nothing left.
Yeah.
You've exhausted it.
Yeah.
Well, you've exhausted yourself, and you've exhausted any amount of energy that you lose the joy in being there for your kids and doing things with your children or your husband or your partner or whomever it might be. You lose that joy because you're so focused and that's all you do. And now it's become a burden rather than a beautiful, joyful event.
Yeah. Yep.
And it doesn't even have to be, we have a tendency, along with that same thing, when we have this tendency to have to always do everything over the top. So for the kids, there's always got to be something bigger, better, over the top, more. Our kids they just really want you for that, like, a small amount of time.
Right.
Do something over the top on Saturday afternoon. Take it, go crazy, have a great time. But that little bit of time that your kid's like, I need to play. Like, sometimes you just gotta be like, okay, I've got a bunch of stuff to do. We got to set the boundaries, but we're going to take this time and we're going to have a really special time. And that's what they're going to remember.
Yeah. So setting that boundary, like I've heard that a 20 minutes time frame is like a great way to, okay, you have my full attention for 20 minutes and then I have to go do other things. It's that boundary setting. It's that setting expectations and following through with them.
Yeah. And I think really setting the expectations and boundaries is super important in releasing guilt, because now you have given your time and some time to your family and to your kids. And now you can take 20 minutes for yourself. It might just be 10 minutes just to take a walk around the block, clear your head. It might be 20 minutes of sitting in silence and just not having anybody talk to you for a minute, or a child hanging on your leg for 20 minutes. And it can happen. But it's setting the boundary and be like, this is mom time. I need a little bit of time for myself. Yeah. Take your time. I'll be back with you in a little bit. We will have plenty of time this evening. Right now, I need a little bit of quiet for me to take care of myself. And it's not, when we think of self-care, when I think of self-care, people have a tendency to really have to go over the top. Oh, I have to go and do all these different things. It can be a 5-minute meditation.
It could be a 1-minute meditation.
It can be.
Sitting in your car, sit on the toilet for 1 minute.
Yes. I was thinking, I'm like, sit in your car for a little bit, but you can sit on the toilet too. Hey, wherever it needs. And sometimes the toilet can be 5 minutes. So I have locked myself in the bathroom, sat on the floor with the heater on a cold day of day, and like, you know what? I'm just going to sit in here and make my own this is my little sauna for a little bit, and I'm just going to sit here. Yeah. You go to bed. I'm going to sit in here. This is what I need right now.
Right.
But go ahead.
I was also thinking about how learning is best done by example. So you learn by other people's example best. So what is it saying to your kids if you're not prioritizing yourself at all? Because they're kind of learning that behavior and learning to not prioritize themselves because mom never did, so there's that whole side of things too.
Oh, our kids they talk about kids learn by example. We learn by example. We learn from other people by doing examples. Absolutely. And our kids are sponges. Yeah. I'll just give a small example, like a freak out that I happen to have. I was trying to make soup, trying to spend time, trying to do everything all at one time, and it wasn't working. And the soup got all destroyed. And so I'm smashing the pot on this. I'm like growling. And I bought Leo this house at Trader Joe's to put together with frosting. He's all proud of it. He's all happy. Well, of course, while I'm in the other room, the whole house just collapses. Well, I just freaked out about the soup. So of course now he is melting and throwing. I'm like, okay, so that reaction probably came because my reaction was so bad. So now his reaction is now really bad as well. So I'm like, okay, we have to figure this out. So taking it back and turning it around and being like, and going back and talking about it, because how we react and how we do, if we aren't prioritizing ourselves, I think it's kind of like the same thing. What we do and how we take care of ourselves is how our children are going to take care of themselves as well, because they see it.
Yep.
So if they're not taking care of, if we're not doing things that are positive for ourselves, that's what they see and that's what they learn, and they think that that's okay. And it's the same thing when we have conversations with others. If we're realizing that we're using, like, I've been working with using different language and trying to change mindset and trying to work with we all try to work with that to try and really change the mindset, because when we're not looking at the guilt and the judgment behind it, we're talking about what's really in our heads, not what's coming from everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, that kind of got a little off topic there about the guilt topic, but it's okay. But back to, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Yep. That's right.
Casual conversation.
Right.
I don't know. Go ahead. Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No, that's fine. So there's, on the flip side, I guess, unless your idea comes back to you, on the flip side, there's also guilt in prioritizing your kids.
I think absolutely. So if we're only prioritizing our kids, then we're neglecting ourselves, and then that guilt sits there as well, because now we're thinking about, well, I should be doing this, and I should be doing this, and I should be taking care of this, whether it's taking care about the house or ourselves. I mean, usually it's more about like the going back into the self-care. Mm-hmm. If we aren't prioritizing that, again, then our kids are seeing, that's the same thing as our kids are seeing that. Their kids are seeing us not prioritize ourselves. So it's kind of finding that happy medium between the two, prioritizing self and prioritizing family and kids. Yeah. And where is that happy medium? And it's going to be different for everybody. I mean, some people are much happier because they feel more fulfilled with only taking care of their kids, which, that's what fulfills them. And that's what brings them so much joy. Then that's perfect. It's not, there isn't a set goal, like a set cookie cutter for everybody. Right. For some, it's going to be 50-50. Sometimes it's like you take that Saturday and you spend it with the kids, and you take Sunday and you do it by yourself, because the rest of the work week, we all know, it's like you got a lot of stuff going on between kids, school, working, household chores, everything around. I mean, there's so much, and a lot right now with COVID. It's a whole nother layer that's been added on to that. Now we have the guilt. Are we doing enough for kids for their education? Should we be sending them to school? Is there a mask over their face? Is this a good enough mask? Is this not a good enough mask? I mean, we all felt it. I mean, we've all felt it whether we have kids or not. Should we go out to this restaurant? Should we not go out to this restaurant? What should we do? So that being said, I mean, like, that's a whole nother layer. But I think first, that's the work week is prioritizing that, is like kind of just trying to get everything done, and then taking some time for yourself on that weekend, and taking a day for your kids, and taking some time, or even if it's breaking it up between, like on a Saturday afternoon, take 2 hours for yourself, come home and have a great afternoon with your kids. Yeah. I mean, it can be, like, again, short amount of time, long amount of, whatever you need is what you need to do. Yeah. And then there's just times you just be like, y'all got to go away for the whole weekend.
Well, and also from a different perspective of prioritizing your kids, prioritizing your kids versus friends and family sometimes is an issue. Like it drawing boundaries with friends. Like if you used to go out all the time to restaurants, and again, times right now maybe aren't the best example. Yeah. However, it's the whole like friend group changing or like shifting priorities, and you feel like you're excluding your friends, I'm sure, or you feel like, you're excluding.
Absolutely. But you know what I've noticed, a big change is those that I was close with before having a child and those that I'm close with now are still pretty much the same. I've met some new moms, obviously, because of this, but and had great relationships there. And I met some new people that are not moms and have great relationships there as well. But when it comes time, I've been able, I'm not afraid to take my son out though. I mean, I think a lot of people have to realize that they're children. That doesn't mean you have to hide them away. You can still take them out to a restaurant. Yeah, sometimes it's going to be a tablet or a phone because you just want to have a conversation with your friend, but that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? Give them the phone or the tablet for a little while, but everything in moderation.
Right.
You're not going to melt their brain because they're having a tablet at the table for a little bit. It's okay. Now, if you use it as a babysitter and that's the only thing that you're doing, then I'm going to say, we'll look at some different opportunities for you. But yeah, kids get loud in restaurants. They want to move around, and just pick where you're going to go.
Yeah.
You're not going to go to a fine dining, but that doesn't mean you can't go out with a friend to a tavern that has a great meal. The kid's still going to sit there. I mean, from day one, that was like one thing for me. I'm like, don't be afraid to take your kid out. They're people. Yep. They're okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
So I think that bringing in prioritizing friends is, I'll still go out and enjoy friendship and enjoy conversations. And sometimes my son wants to be included in the conversation, and sometimes he could care less and he just wants to color.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes he wants the tablet, and that's fine. But what has been really nice about that is it's exposed him to a lot of really, really interesting and different types of food. So he has been able to try all these different things.
Sure.
I'm not going to sit down and order him like a big sushi dinner, but if he wants to pick off my plate and eat some stuff, fantastic.
Try it out.
And then keep a snack in your purse just in case.
The Cheerios are always good to have as a backup.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah. So the other thing that I wanted to discuss was the feeling of guilt itself and trusting yourself. And I had kind of talked about this on my wellness walk yesterday about learning to trust yourself and what you're doing is right. And really just sort of tuning into your body and figuring out, is this something that I truly think is something that I should be guilty about? Where do I feel this guilt in my body? Why is it coming up? What's the source of it? So are there judgments from myself where I think I'm not doing a good enough job? Or is it somebody else telling me that I'm not doing a good job, that I believe them?
I think it is a lot of times it's no one telling you this. It's what society has put out there as to what is a good job and what isn't.
Right.
And I don't think that there really is a way to tell what's good and what's not when it comes to parenting, because every single child is different. Yeah. There is no child and there's no way of being like, well, this is the best way to deal with your child, right? I mean, if somebody came up to me and be like, you don't know my kid, I'm like, it's that simple. So yeah, every child is different. So when we have these voices in our head that are telling us to feel guilty or to feel judged or to feel bad about, well, God, I didn't sign my kid up for soccer. Oh my God, does that mean he's not gonna be good at sports? Is he not gonna be accepted? It's okay. Because when he decides he wants to play soccer, he's going to play soccer. And we're gonna find something for him. It's okay to not push your kids too when they're young. I mean, as they get older, you want to encourage, but it's okay not to push them too hard. And in the back of your head, because all of your friends have decided that they're signing their kids up for certain things, and my kid could care less about anything. He as long as it's got dinosaurs in it, he could care less about anything else. So I'm like, well, we're just going to keep on trying different things. And if he likes it, he'll want to do it again. But I don't I try to keep the little voice back here out of my, try to push it out as it's sitting there going, shoulda, woulda, shoulda, coulda, you should be doing this. Yeah. There is no should. It's either you're going to or you're not. Yeah, go away. So it's like, flick it, it's gone. So, but yeah, so most of that, lean back, it's going to be the voices in our heads that are bringing on the guilt. And, I read recently about a mom whose own mother was challenged with her relationship and the way she was raising her kids. And she actually made me like, okay, this is how I'm doing it. Either you accept it or we're going to have to not see you for a little while. And that's not what we want because we love you so much. But this is how this is how we're living our life. And it's healthy and it's happy and we love it. So it's not an easy thing to do, but sometimes you might actually have to say that to a friend, a family member, a relative, anybody.
Yeah.
That this is how I am. I'm not going to sign my child up for that because they don't want to do it. I'm going to encourage him to do something else. So I need you to either accept or not speak about it anymore. Or we're going to have to take a break. Yeah. So, I mean, these are not easy things to do because they're your support system. But at the same time, they're adding to this guilt that you're living in that's in your head that is not, it's not truth.
Yeah.
It's somebody else's, what you think is someone else's opinion.
Right. And setting those boundaries and learning to set those boundaries, learning what they are is very important. Sometimes it takes somebody going over the boundary for you to realize that it should have been there all the time, and really clearly defining what's going on and what you want and what you think is right for you in your life.
They're not easy to set and they're not easy to hold up once they're set. But when you do, and you realize that they're set, that it's set there and you have it there and you've held up your end and you don't let the person past it, and you hold it, it's almost like a feeling of accomplishment after that. And it's like you can feel almost the release of the guilt and the release of the anxiety that goes along with it and release of judgment.
Yeah. And find that calm and that confidence in yourself, in your boundary, in your family.
And you can trust yourself to make the right decisions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was awesome. This was a quick 20-minute conversation, which was absolutely perfect. That's kind of what I was planning for these. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And if you are a mom struggling with guilt and feeling a bit lost and overwhelmed, you should definitely schedule a call with Dayna. Dayna, how can we reach you?
On Facebook at Origin Holistic Coaching. And then on there is a book some time with me through my Calendly. And there's also my email addresses on there as well.
All right. And I will add that into the comments after we get out of here. So thanks a lot, Dayna.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.